ঠিক আছে।
শুরু করো।
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Simon & Schuster India, I welcome you all to this very, very special evening where we are launching an extremely special book, a book that was conceived last year and was written. It was like an adventure putting it together with the co-authors, one of whom I have worked with before and everybody knows, Boria Majumdar. It's like, in a way, it's a spiritual follow-up to the previous book we worked on together, which was called 11 Gods and a Billion Indians. This is about a much more newer Indian, more feistier Indian side. So they'll tell you more about it. And of course, this is the debut book of co-author Kushan Sarkar, who is an acclaimed journalist, sports journalist himself. So thank you, first of all. This has been an absolute pleasure to work on this book. I also thank the panelists today. Some of them are going to join soon, but Mr. Deep Dasgupta again needs no introduction at all. We're all great admirers of his work, and especially what he's doing right now in England. So everybody has been following that. So thank you for being a part of this today. I'll just quickly wrap up before passing it on to Boria. This book is special because yes, it's about the current Indian team, the modern Indian team, which is an excellent blend of experience in the form of what we saw Rahane do or Pujara do or Rohit Sharma do, but also the hot-bloodedness and the feistiness of young guns like Pant and Siraj. So this blend is what perhaps is working so well for this Indian team. And this book not only talks about the stories of their achievements and success, but it goes behind the scene and gives you a pit side sort of view of the resilience and the hard work that goes on behind the making of such heroes. So anybody who picks up this book gets to know what goes on in the minds of these absolute stalwarts, absolute brilliant players when they're out there on the pitch and even off it. I'll quickly wrap up by saying that towards the end of the book, you'll find a short chapter on women's cricket as well. We have deliberately kept it short because we have bigger plans with it. It's a much bigger story waiting to be told, and hopefully that will happen soon. I hope all of you pick up a copy of the book. All of you get an opportunity to read it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Our two other panelists have also joined. Again, people who don't no introductions at all. I thank all of them, and I pass the mic on to Boria, and he'll take it forward from here.
Thank you, Shantan. Always a pleasure working with you and Simon and Schuster. And I can see Aftab in a park. I'm envious. Deep, as usual, is always his life's motto is to make me jealous and go to England in summer when I'm in Calcutta. So Deep, I'll take revenge. Don't you worry. And Aftab, is such a bad soul. World Test Championship final, he lands up and posts a video to make all of us jealous. And now the two of them are watching the action together at Lords. That's why I love Veda. Veda at least is in India still and has decided to, again, Veda is an inspiration to everybody. She's been somebody I have followed as a cricketer. I have done multiple events with her. More recently, what she has been through, she's an embodiment of inspiration to everyone. But today, what we are celebrating is why all of us are here for. We are celebrating this Indian cricket team. And Kushan, he's one of the most paranoid people for perfection you will ever come across. At 12 o'clock at night, he will write a mad WhatsApp message saying that comma is not there in that chapter. Kushan, you're a rock star to work with. Absolute rock star. Let me start with you, Veda. Let me start with you. This Indian cricket team is very like you. Feisty, resilient, determined, committed. Is this your brand of cricket? And are you in sync with what you are seeing Virat do or a Shefali Verma do? And this new breed of Indian cricket that we are seeing now, what is your take on it?
Oh, well, like you said, it's definitely something which I really look forward and something where I connect the most. When I debuted for India almost 10 years ago, there weren't much like this. Maybe if in the entire Indian team you would have one or two who's very fiercely, very expressive on the field. But today, to see how the boys are doing, especially so much fierce, they're really not bothered. That brand of cricket what they're playing, I think entire credit goes to management and Virat to actually get that, that people are scared of our fast bowling unit, which I think there's completely flip side to what it was cricket before. And at the same time, even the women's cricket, if you see, it's like 1 to 7 batters. You see, people are very aggressive and very fierce. And I think this is the way forward. We are actually matching the brand of cricket what Australians uh, dominated for such a long time. And at the same time, even before that, when the West Indies squad was playing in the 80s with Viv Richards and the brand what Clive Lloyd set, I think that is something which the Indian team is cultivating and trying to get that brand on the field. And it becomes so interesting. It actually attracts a lot of people as well to watch the cricket. Test cricket is not boring anymore. Women's cricket is not boring anymore. I think that brings in the entertainment factor as well.
Lovely, good answer. This is what we are celebrating today: mission, domination, and unfinished quest. She mentioned Clive Lloyd. For 15 years, if you were born in the West Indies, you did not see your team lose. And Clive Lloyd, when he tells you this story, he will finish 2 bottles of wine, but he will revel in that story. He did that for my last book launch in London. Deep was part of that. Aftab, you were there at Lord's. Do you still have a voice left? I know you've just put your daughter to sleep in the car and have come to the park. Do you still have some voice left? Give me a sense. You were there at Lord's. You are a one lucky bloke. 5th day Lord's, 154. When you messaged me, I wrote saying, Aftab, make the team win. Damn it, now I will pay for your tickets every time and send you to the ground when India plays. But give me a sense. How was it? Just relive that.
First of all, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. It's a pleasure to see all of you guys. Thanks, Boria. Thanks for having me on this launch. And first of all, many congratulations to you and Kushan for the launch of the book. I'm looking forward to getting a signed copy by both of y'all, by the way. Hi, Veda. Hi, Deep.
Hi,
Good to see you all
hi.
as well.
That's
Boria,
a nice way to put it across, to get an autograph book. Say nice things about them.
I think that's a given. They have to sign the book and give it to me. That will be a pleasure to
No,
have.
anyway, I owe it because he's already given me the WTC T-shirt. He bought it for me. There was only one available in the store. All was sold out, and he bought one for himself. Then I said, Aftab, I want one. So he said, size is the same, large, so I'm sending it to you, and he has. I'm putting that on record. So he's a sweet guy.
Basically, Boria is trying to say that. No, but Boria is trying to say he and I are the same size. That's what he's trying to say in this chat.
No. I'm reduced, but still not. Anyway.
No, but listen, Boria. I must tell you. I know I did message you the night before saying that I'm going because it was pretty much a last minute decision. I must admit, I was here, and then the way the test match was going, it has always been in my list to go to Lords and watch a game, and what a game to watch! A complete cliffhanger. Obviously, when we went on the 5th day, we didn't expect for this such a massive, dramatic turnaround of events, as we all know and we've been following. But there was always hope that this Indian team, like all of you have been saying, is extremely resilient, extremely aggressive. I think the right kind of aggression. I think it's more positive aggression than negative aggression. And I think they had a certain hunger to win. And who would have ever thought that your fast bowlers, your opening bowlers, you're going to be a match winners as batsmen? Who would have ever thought that? I think if it wasn't for that partnership between Bumrah and Shami, I don't think we would have found this result, to be very honest. Of course, they went and nailed it with the ball after that, all the bowlers. But I think if it wasn't for that partnership, I think England would have very well, they were already in the driver's seat. I think they would have very well changed. That the course of the match would have changed. So yeah, it was a pretty incredible moment to watch, and to watch the wickets fall, to watch the runs being scored by the tailenders, and to put on that massive total, I think 270 odd, and put England into pressure right from the word go, with then early wickets. I mean, for me, it was a dream come true. So it's definitely ticked off my bucket list. So yeah, it's extremely special. And you know the feeling, Boria, you've seen so many of these. This was my first time, so you very well know. And you've been part of all this for a very, very long time. Veda, you're part of this. So I mean, for me as a complete outsider, it's an absolute spectacle to watch, and a really moment of goosebumps.
Yeah, and when you've just finished Special Ops and you've done a great thing, people are waiting for its release. You can now afford some time off, sip your coffee, and say all this. So great work done. You deserve your break. Deep, you
Thank
commentated,
you.
you were commentating. Both you and I, we've seen Gabba, we've seen Lords. This is now happening regularly. Can they do this regularly, Deep? Can they make Mission Domination a complete quest rather than an unfinished quest? So, two questions to you. Your thoughts on this Virat Kohli breed of cricket. It has divided the cricket world again. Is it over-aggression? Is it what? Your take on that? Because we love it. Your take on that. And secondly, can we go on and win this series? Something Kushan and I are very, very clear about. We think we can. That's why we had conceived this book. Your thoughts. Can this be a completed quest?
Well, first of all, congratulations, Kushan, Boria, and thank you, Aftab and Veda, for being here and obviously
Thanks.
for having me over. So first of all, a couple of things. I think as first of all, Veda and Aftab mentioned about this aggression. I think we Indians were always aggressive, but our aggression was a little more controlled and a little more, I'd say, not on your face, right? So someone like a Rahul Dravid was aggressive as well, but he would not give it back. So he would give it back with his bat or somebody with his ball. But now what we've done is, I think this is the new India that we see, is not only we are giving it with our bat and ball, but we are also on their face. So we are also doing it with our mouth. So if somebody says something to us, bat ball se to denge hi, lekin saath mein we'll give it back with our mouth as well. So that is the difference that has happened over the last, let's say, 10 odd years or something. And that's fine. That's fine. I mean, that's the new generation. That's how they are. You see them on on Insta or whatever. I mean, that's absolutely fine. I think that's how it should be, especially with the times changing. So that's one. Secondly, I think the Australia series or this series is a testament to not just the players out there, but the support staff, the system, right? Look at Australia. Look at Sri Lanka of late, and obviously this series. So this is also a testament to the system. And obviously, the system hasn't happened in the last year or 2 years or a decade. It's over a period of time, over 60, 70 years. So I think we have inherited something, and this generation is taking it forward the way it should be. So I think, I mean, as you mentioned, this is just the beginning of the journey, or maybe midway. I think journey will only finish when you start dominating, as the book title of the book mentions. I think we are still a little bit behind as far as domination is concerned. Let's talk about, I don't think any country will ever dominate like the West Indies or the Australia. I don't think that will happen. But if you remember something like South Africa in the 2010s and 8s, where consistently they would travel and win outside South Africa. I think we are in that position where we will obviously win at home, but we are starting to win more consistently in places like Australia, England. I think India should win the series. I think start of the series, I said India should win. I'm sticking by it, and there's no reason why not. New Zealand series obviously is something that we have in South Africa. Obviously, those series are coming up. I think, yes, I think this team is on its way to be as dominant as you can be in contemporary cricket.
Excellent. Kushan, again, I put it on record. You've been great to work with as a partner, you know, when we started this journey. Tell me, what is your best story? Because there are these moments in the book when both of us felt good about writing this. Give me one of your favorite stories from the book. Just tell our audience.
Yeah, like there are all the stories. I believe they're close to my heart because this is my first book. But the story that I believe that I worked really hard and I got emotional. Like it was like a process of self-discovery when I wrote the chapter of Cheteshwar Pujara. Actually, speaking to Mr. Arvind Pujara and the tragedy, like if you have encountered a tragedy in your own life, you know, like you know what it is like to lose a close family member. And Arvind sir, he has also been a first-class cricketer and Cheteshwar's only coach till date. The way he explained and to know about Cheteshwar, where Cheteshwar spoke to his mom around afternoon after playing a match. They had lost that match and they were coming back. And he told his mom that tell dad that to come to the bus stand. I'll be there at around 6:30 or 7. And he spoke. His mother said okay. And in between, his mother passed away tragically. She was a cancer survivor, and she passed away. And when Cheteshwar came back, and Arvindji was like so devastated himself, and didn't want that since he was coming alone by bus, he didn't want him to know right there at that point in time. And when he came back, he was told about it, and for for a week or so, he didn't even shed a drop of tear. And that is something, that story that has stayed with me. At times, I feel that can this happen? Like probably that's from where that's where you get that guts, and I think Chiteshwar Pujara's guts and that mental strength that we always talk about. The new wall of Indian cricket. He has been for now, after Rahul Dravid, the wall of Indian cricket, and they call him many names: Chastity, Che. The many articles you'll be seeing about Cheteshwar Pujara, and I believe that that has come from that, like losing your mother. Well, like, we have all lost. Like I have lost my father when I was around 18 years old. Like, but the fact that, but I was devastated. I wept like hell. But here, this boy within 3 days
Let me stop you there.
went on
Let
to
me
play a
stop you there.
match.
We've got true, Kushan. I mean, that is perhaps special to sports people. I mean, we've got a panelist here who's gone through the same. And that is why I say
Exactly.
that she is a living embodiment of inspiration for each one of us. To be able to still do what she is doing, help other people, continue with her sport, wanting to make a comeback, wear the tricolour again. That is why we celebrate Cheteshwar Pujara, Veda, Krishnamurthy and their ilk. That is what I talk about, or we talk about, as mission domination. This is a philosophy. This is not simply a book. And we've got a chapter on women's cricket for one reason. Because we think there is a far bigger story to be told and we aren't ready yet. Otherwise, that would have been a full book in itself. Veda, talk to me. Talk to me about your own experience. I mean, to come out and again wanting to make a comeback, wanting to play the tricolour, both you and Deep, you all have played for the tricolour. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to you to be a sports person? And talk to me about the state of women's cricket in India at the moment. Veda.
Being a sports person, one thing what I've understood is no matter what you go through, you always find a way to get back into your life and get back into your routine. It was tough. It took me more than 2 months actually to step out of the house, or to go for training or something like that. I had no motivation left. But at the same time, the wanting, the urge to make a comeback, because for the fact that, like I've said, that my mother and my sister have been my biggest fans, and I want to do it for them. So that is something which keeps coming back in my head, and I was like, you need to put in effort. You cannot just sit at home. Agree, everything's happened, but you need to get on with life. You need to make yourself fit again. You need to be mentally strong. You need to make yourself available. You need to go there out on the field. That is what my life has been all these years. And I suddenly can't sit at home and say, like, put the blame on everything else what is happening around. Whether I'm going to make a comeback now, or is it going to take time, that is something which I can't control. So what I can control is to make sure that I'm prepared for whatever is thrown at me. And the pride of wearing the Indian jersey, it is the same as it was when I made my debut, and to what it is now. Like, throughout how many ever games I've played, there's always, as a player, I'm sure Deep can connect. Like, every time you get your set of clothes for the series, there is always that big joy and big smile on your face, because you really want to take the jersey, turn around and see your name. That is something which gives you a lot of happiness. And I'm looking forward to when that is going to happen again, and that will actually bring a smile on my face.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Aftab, if I can come to you on that, what she just said, this is what our India is about. You and I have spoken about this. When you see a Veda Krishnamurthy do this, turn up for India and become a role model for future girls and boys, for every one of us. When you see a Mohammad Siraj in Australia, father died, could not go home, was in hard quarantine, then stepping up at the Gabba, taking that Indian flag, walking around with the team behind him, doing the same again at Lords, you feel good about your India. Aftab, Shivdasani, talk to me about Mohammad Siraj. You watched him that night. What was it like?
No, I first of all, I salute Veda and all the sportsmen who have gone through this incredible loss. And and come back stronger, I would say. I know it's always easier said than done. You're never really in the person's shoes to experience it. But my respect, my salute, and hats off to you for your journey as well. And I wish you all the best for the future, Veda. Hope you can don that
Thanks,
tricolor
Aftab.
and go and make everybody proud, your mother, your sister, the country, all of us. Um, yeah, so it's always hard losing a loved one, and then because you see there is a pressure of a billion people when you're out on that field. It's not all of those people realize what you've been through. You're the only person who's been through that emotional upheaval, and then but once you're on the field, you have to be at your best. You have to put everything aside, and it almost becomes like a battle for redemption, I would say, because there is so much you need to do, so much of pressure, and then obviously you owe it to your loved one, you owe it to the loss of your loved one, that you've got something to prove, you've got a purpose, and I think that also becomes a kind of a purpose. So even the other day when I saw Siraj bowling, he looked like he was a man possessed. He looked like he wanted to win, and that's what we were discussing. Even this kind of aggression, it is as Deep rightly put it. The aggression in the past was a little different kind of aggression, which I would like to say passive aggression. But today the aggression is right out there, because it's you give what you get, and there's no pretense, there's no people are not shy to give it back. If you treat me like this, I will give it to you back. Like, even I think there was a verbal duel between Jimmy Anderson and Virat on the field, and it's there online, and it just goes to show the mindset of people who not only have the talent but have the conviction to give it back to somebody. If you're going to abuse me in your backyard, I'm going to give it back to you in your own backyard. So this kind of aggression you didn't see for a very long time, and now this generation does have it. So when I saw Siraj bowl, I was like, this guy has really he's got a certain fire, and you could sense if sitting in the pavilion also that all 11 of them on the field wanted to win that day. The moment they got 2 or 3 early wickets, they could sniff it, they could smell it. Of course, there were periods in the game which were a lull, where some of the batsmen, especially when Joe Root was there, there was this thing that Joe Root was actually standing between India and victory, literally. And then the moment Root got out, I think there was a drop catch as well at some point. I'm not sure if it was Moeen Ali's drop catch in the slips. I think Bumrah was bowling. I think Virat dropped
Joss
it,
Butler.
and
Joss
yeah,
Butler.
Joss
that was
Butler.
correct. That was Josh
Yeah.
Butler. Yeah, so there was this. Suddenly, there was a period where there wasn't a wicket for a while, and all of us were contemplating that is this the catch that would have made all the difference? Because if we would have gone into a draw scenario from then, there would have been this massive sense of like, oh yaar, wo catch le, agar hum log catch le lete, so the outcome of the match would have been very different. I mean, of course, we do postmortem every 2 seconds. You know how it goes. But it was incredible to see the spirit in this team, and I do believe that these guys are on their way to dominating, because suddenly when you start winning becomes a habit, as you know, as sports persons know, and of course you guys know as well, that the moment you start winning, you feel it in your blood that you have the conviction to do it and over again. Of course, the moment you get complacent is when you lose it all. But I think these guys definitely have this certain energy, certain fire that they're going to go into the next test with, and I think they know that they can create a lot of dent in this English side, because I think on paper the Indian team is far more they're far more potential than the English side at the moment, with Ben Stokes, etc., not being there. I think Indians definitely have the upper hand in the series, and I do believe they can win as well in the next two tests.
Okay, Deep, is this the best bowling unit? Something that we keep talking about, we've written about at length. People, and the reason we ask you is, even if one guy or two guys not there, somebody is putting their hand up. Look at England, people are not putting their hand up. In Australia, no Bumrah, no Ashwin, no Shami, no X, no Y, no Umesh Yadav. At the start of the series, all of a sudden, Siraj and Shardul Thakur. So this is a different India. That's why we are saying this is a different India. Your thoughts on that? And the contribution of Bharat Arun, because we talk about Bharat Arun and biomechanics and sports science at length. So your thoughts?
I think the biggest change is the belief, as Aftab mentioned, so did Veda, about we are not into playing safe anymore. Now there is a catch line of one famous, very popular sports brand, All In. So that's what this generation is all about. It's all in. It's in the process you will lose some. There you always will lose some, but you will end up winning more than you lose. That's the kind of mindset that this team has, and it's. I mean, we've got to accept it. we could have easily lost as well. For example, I don't know what England. I mean, you could have actually they could have tried chasing it down with Joss Butler opening the innings or whatever, 217,
Exactly.
45, 50. I mean, you would do that. I mean, if Morgan was a captain and this was white ball and you would have colored clothing, you would have looked to chase that very easily, rather. So the whole mindset is different, and that's where the difference is. India is playing to win, and maybe England was playing not to lose.
Correct.
So that was the
Exactly.
basic difference between these two teams. And that's what I really like about this team with Virat and this team management, including all the senior players and everything. The intensity levels, irrespective whether you're losing the game, you're in a bad position, you're winning, you're in a great position, the intensity levels are there all the bloody time. So it's you will never find the Indian team fault in terms of intensity. As Aftab was mentioning, even though that period there was this 10 overs, if I'm not wrong, without a wicket, Butler and Moeen Ali,
Yeah.
but you could still see
Yeah.
the body language that believe they knew that they will get those wickets. So it was
Yeah.
never, even though there was this partnership, there was never an iota of doubt in those 11 guys or the guys in the dressing room that they're not going to win. And to be honest, if they had really thought about it, they might have not declared. Because if you look at that game, both the teams played 90 overs, right? And then you suddenly realize, yeah, fourth day, pitch has slowed down, 60 overs is not enough. Then why do you want the bowlers to go through the pain again and then again, bowl 15 overs? But obviously, the whole team believed that they could get them out in those 60 overs. So I think that belief is a
Yeah.
huge change that has happened over a period of time. And as far as you mentioned about Bharat Tarun, I think I've worked with him. I worked with him. I know he's technically one of the best in the world as far as technical is concerned. And also, I mean, the combination of Bharat Tarun and Virat, because I think this whole thing changed way back in 2015 when obviously Virat became the captain in Australia and realized, boss, you have to win away from home. You need 20 wickets predominantly from your fast bowlers. And then you need certain kind of fast bowlers for that. And I think it's a process which began from then. And then obviously Bharat Tarun was a very, very key part of that whole process because he obviously is so good technically handling them and the way they've handled. For example, we've questioned at times, oh, why is Shami rested for a test match? But obviously there was a plan behind it. It was part of the process and it's coming through now. So I think credit to Bharat Tarun, the team management, everyone there to kind of, I mean, where India's reached right now. And talking about India, I mean, listen, I mean, that's the best thing that can happen to you in your professional life. I mean, if you haven't been there in the middle of the ground where the national anthem is playing, can't explain. I mean, I don't think anyone has the word to explain what it feels when there are 50, 60,000 people in a stadium. You're right in the middle and the national anthem is playing. I mean, even now when I hear it, when I'm there at the stadium, I get goosebumps. So,
It's goosebumps.
yeah, can't explain that.
Yeah, this is actually something that people won't understand unless you've been part of the action. Just a couple of weeks ago in Tokyo, 10 meters away, Neeraj Chopra stands on that Olympic podium, and about 5 of us Indian journalists 10 meters away from him, and somebody says just next to me, Neeraj, Bharat Mata ki, and the IOC guy is going to give him the medal, and he says Jai. And that fellow doesn't know what is going on there. And he starts shouting Jai, and we start celebrating there. This is an incredible feeling. Kushan, Rishabh Pant, I know he's close to you. That is a chapter you love doing. Tell us a Rishabh Pant story that we don't know. Tell us about Rishabh, because
Can I
what
please say
again, I mean,
something
I'm being,
before you
yes.
ask Kushan? Can I please? There was one visual I saw online which cracked me up, and I'm sure the whole of the internet got cracked up. That was before Rishabh came into bat. I'm sure you guys have seen the visual online. Rishabh was lying down like this behind Virat, and Virat was in the front. That was the most incredible. I think that pretty much sums up Rishabh Pant's character. And I've never met the guy, but I just think he's so much of fun, and he's such a firecracker that I think he's a brand of cricket in himself. I'm sorry I have to
True.
walk around because I have to also look at my whether my daughter's okay.
You
But
go.
yeah, I just
You
want to say.
absolutely do that.
But
That's
I'm
tremendous.
sorry. I will have to excuse myself because he's going to wake up any
Go for
moment.
it. Go for it.
And
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I
Go
just
for it.
want to say many congratulations, guys. Boria, Kushan. Boria, you're amazing. I've already told you this 1,000 times off camera, so I'm not going to praise you again on camera. But thank you, Veda. Thank you, Deep.
Don't.
Lovely
Just,
meeting you
just,
guys.
just keep coming to my shows. You don't have to praise. That's enough. And and you've never asked for money, so it does my job perfectly. I do
Money,
all
no,
things.
yeah. There's no money in friendship and cricket for me. There's no money.
The,
It's just love.
tremendous, tremendous. Love you,
Anyway,
Aftab
thanks, guys.
Shivdasani. Love
Thanks
you,
for
See
actually.
you,
having me.
Thank you
Aftab.
very
Lots of
much.
love.
Nice to see you.
Thanks.
Take
See
care.
you. Bye
Thanks.
bye.
Likewise,
Cool.
likewise, Veda. Thanks,
Bye.
Steve. Bye, Kushan.
Bye.
Bye, bye, Boria.
Bye.
Bye, bye.
Bye. Bye.
Kushan, Rishabh Pant. Tell me your Rishabh
Yeah,
Pant story.
like I'm not, I wouldn't claim that I am great friends with him, but since I've covered him through his debut and possibly seen him in many avatars from very close range, because a very dear friend of both of us, Arani Basu, he has also been very close to Rishabh. But one incident, like what I like about Rishabh Pant is that he hasn't still lost the innocence. He's still that 17, 18-year-old boy, but at the same time, he has acquired that maturity how to win matches for his country. But that innocence is still in him. Like we were at the Air Force ground in Palam during one of the Vijay Hazare Trophy matches a few years back, and both of us, me and my friend Arani Basu, we were standing there and we were wearing our BCCI accreditations. And it was after the match. Rishabh was in good mood. He had scored some runs. He came and saw this card. He said, "Kya hota hai?" He just took the accreditation card out of Arani's neck and ran away and went inside the dressing room. Now we can't go inside the dressing room. And at that point of time, the match is over. We need to get back to office, file our story, and he's not coming. Or dunga nahi. And then KP Bhaskar to tell him, give it back. Give it back. बोला कोच साहब बोल रहे हैं इसलिए दे रहा हूं भैया. But this is but again that same guy, when he speaks to you or about how he sorted out Rishabh Pant on a fifth day Brisbane, that's where the maturity comes in. The cricketing smarts that has always been there from the very first match when he played Ranji Trophy, and he had come through. And when you come through a very tough system, you are coming on weekends to practice at the Sonnet Club, a club that Deep also knows very well. Deep has played his junior cricket in Delhi, and Sonnet probably has produced more international cricketers. If I talk about a club, no club I believe in India has produced so many international cricketers as much as Sonnet has produced over the years from 80s, and top-notch cricketers. And Rishabh Pant has joined the flock. So working under Tarak Sinha and Devendra Sharma, those bus journeys for 8 hours, staying a couple of hours waiting at the Gurdwara once or twice. That story has become a myth, I know, in the media circles, but it was once or twice it has happened. Normally, he has stayed a lot at Devendra sir's house, and there was a relative who used to stay in Saket, so they had stayed there also. So, but yeah, it is true that a couple of times, just because he has to attend practice and there's a 2-hour gap between, it's early morning, they reach Delhi from Roorkee. So they had to overstay at the Gurdwara, practice, and always Tarak Sinha used to insist on Devendra Sharma that he should bat at the net. He was a 12, 13-year-old and he would be facing 16, 17-year-old. Now, it becomes a problem if you see that 12 or 13-year-old facing a 16 or 17-year-old, always there will be a difference because he is a kid. It's not 17-year-olds facing a 19-year-old. There is a distinct difference, and there he could hit. He could hit those 16, 17 years. He used to loft the ball even at that age, where your muscle building phase process hasn't started yet. And same thing happened with Shubman Gill also. Since I'm talking about Rishabh, it's only fair to talk about Shubman also. That Shubman was discovered by Karsan Gowri, and Karsan Gowri made him play Sandeep Sharma. Shubman was at that time 13 or 14, and Sandeep Sharma was 19 years old, and he was he was in the periphery of the India under-19 team, and he bowled to Shubman Gill, and Shubman played him comfortably. And then Karsan Gowri told the PCA people, Mr. Pandav, that how can this boy be left out of under-14? And he was just strolling around. As luck would have it, that day there was rain at PCA. It was raining in Mohali, but still there was a match going outside. That was a junior under-14 club match, and he and his assistant coach, Karubhai and the assistant coach, they were watching that match because the practice at the PCA ground was stopped. It was a pace bowlers camp. He was brought as a spotter to spot the pace bowlers, potential pace bowlers who had come all the way from all round Punjab. And Sandeep Sharma was one of those pace bowlers who was there at that camp. And there were no batsmen actually. There were only bowlers who were there. There were no good batsmen. But when he saw that match, he inquired and said that tomorrow you are going to come at the PCA ground and face my bowlers. And there he faced and said that his name is there under 14. Mr. Pandav probably said that the list is already been prepared, under 14 Punjab list. Well, he should be there. He is the first name that should be there in that list.
Lovely. These are the kind of stories that make this book. And one such story that, Veda, you only have about your career. Tell us about that Australia game when in the dressing room, you all were asked to chase and you were going out to bat. And Jhulan said something to you. And, that's when India beat Australia. So the talk of self-belief, making the final in 17, making the final in 2020, our cricket has also changed, and this is a side that can very well go on to win the cup in 2022. So talk to us about that particular game. Kushan was talking about Rishabh and Shubman. Talk to us about your moment when in that dressing room, and that's a fascinating story. Tell us that story, Veda.
That was in 2016. That was my first time to Australia, and I've played all my cricket as a middle order bat. And just before the series started, a day before, the coach walks up and says that you'll be batting number 3. I was like, "You sure?" She's like, "Yeah, you're batting number 3." And I was really excited for the fact that I would get to bat higher up the order. And in Australia, people have said, for a batter, if you can play the bounce well, and if you are good at playing your back foot stroke, it'll be like you'll be very comfortable. So that is something which gave me confidence. And we were we were bowling first, so you know how Australia is, they're on your face always. There's a lot of comments, there's a lot of sledging which happens on the field, and it was all new for me. And the fact that when I always say this as a joke, like, if you can understand what they speak in their accent, I think it can be a blessing at times, because then you know what you're talking, and at the same time it can be irritating as well, because you would know exactly what they're talking. You do not want that to get into your head. And they had scored around 140 odd, and they were very confident that we're not going to chase it. And I was getting ready, and I was padding up, and Julian came to me and she's like, "Tu aaj phod dena unko." I looked at her. I was like, "Didi, don't worry, we are going to win this." And I was still walking out, and the first over itself, Mithali got out, and I had to, like, from the dressing room itself, run to the ground. And you know how Australian grounds are, they huge. The dressing rooms is somewhere else, because it was a double header. We were in a different dressing room, not the main one. It was in Adelaide, because the boys were in the other dressing room. And I just, like, straight away walked in, and I was batting with Smriti, and I went to Smriti and like, "Kya karna hai?" She's like, "Kuch nahi hota, tu 5-6 और खेल ले, फिर देखते हैं." And I was like, "Okay." And we had a very good partnership, and it certainly it laid a platform where Harman could come and play her role. And eventually we ended up winning that game as well as the tournament. And first time we ever beat Australia in any tournament or any format. Plus, on the other hand, beating them in Australia as well. It was not like we were in our home condition where we have our conditions helping us, favoring us. Beating them in Australia, I think it put a strong statement as a team we were planning, and how it was, because the phase for the 17 World Cup had already started. The team what played in Australia was, the core was same. Like, if you say, probably there must be 1 or 2 changes which we had in the 2017 World Cup. So that was already a beginning to what we were planning and how we were going about. And that tournament, I mean, though World Cup was played finals and all of that, but that tournament is something which is very close to my heart.
See, this is what I call backstory of mission domination. This is what we document in this book. Exactly what Veda just said. Deep, last 6 or 7 minutes before I close the show, Kushan showing the book, very proud. Kushan, well done again. Deep, Ajinkya Rahane, we celebrate Ajju. Every time there's one fellow who has to go, when team not winning, Ajinkya Rahane, throw him out, he's not good enough. How is that? I mean, when will this country start to sort of celebrate Ajinkya Rahane a bit more? Does it even matter to him that Melbourne 100, 60 again in that Chennai game against England, again that 60 at Lords? Ajinkya Rahane, Deep, just talk to me about Ajinkya Rahane.
It seems like Ajinkya always needs to have his back to the wall to get his best out. So maybe that's the reason he's always in the line of fire because as you mentioned that 100 back to the wall, whether him personally or as a team. uh, Last one here, and he's got those very, very crucial 60 odd. Even South Africa 2018, the last game, he was
Yeah,
dropped
that
two games
48.
before that. He makes
Yeah.
a comeback, he makes a 48, and India goes on to win that test match. So yeah, I mean, maybe he should be kept under pressure. That way, so he scores a lot more consistently. But having said that, I mean, listen, last test match, be it Pujara, be it Ajinkya, I think that this is about a unit. I think there's a very good example last game of nobody apart from that super first inning scale 100. Everyone contributed. I mean, everyone had a role to play. Whether it was Virat's 40 in the first innings, whether it was Ajinkya Pujara in the second, the bowling unit. Even I thought someone like Shami looked a little off color in the whole Test match, but he picked a couple of important wickets. Someone like Ishant, after 100 and what 103, 104 Test matches, still running and still competing with someone like Siraj. I mean, at this point, it seems like if three seamers have to play, it will be between Ishant and Siraj. So still, after 100 plus Test matches, he's competing with a youngster. So that the whole idea of wanting that want that passion is still so, and it's, I mean, Kushan mentioned about Rishabh. I think he mentioned a very important thing, that passion is so, it's not complicated. It's very simple with him. Aftab mentioned about him sleeping. It's very simple. He has to go out there and play cricket. That purity, that innocence that Kushan mentioned. It's not a work for him. It's not a 9 to 5 ki ye khelunga to I'll make it to IPL and I'll make X amount of money or Y amount of money. It seems like he just wants to play cricket, and that is so amazing in this professional and commercial world, that you still have that going. And mind you, someone like him, he's not a newcomer, so to say. He made his debut 2 3 years ago, and in such a small span of time, he's seen the highs and he's also seen the lows. Right? I remember New Zealand, he was out of all three formats. So within 3 years, he's seen one of the best ever, blah blah blah, as good as MSD, and within 6 months, he was out of all three formats. He was out of all three formats. Everyone's talking about he should be left out of the team and should go and play domestic cricket, and then from there back again at the top, where people are saying he's a natural leader. So I think that's a journey of a sports person for you. Within, I mean, what Rishabh has seen. I mean, what people would
Excellent.
see over a period of normal careers would see over a period of 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years. We as sports people see it over a 2 3 years time.
True. Okay, let me just take a few questions before I close. Kushan, I will ask you a
Sorry,
tough
can I
one.
can I can I quickly add
So,
something, Boria, to this?
yeah,
Just quickly,
yeah.
one, yeah.
Go for it.
I think books like
Go for
this,
it.
I
Go for
mean,
it.
Mission Domination, books like this is so important because people who are in public eye are made of titanium, right? They can do no wrong and they're superhumans and all. I think books like that with backstories, as you mentioned, Boria and Kushan, I think are so important to give the human face to everyone. We are, I mean, all these guys we've mentioned are as human as all of us. But at times, especially with media and social media, we tend to forget that. We tend to treat them like
True.
superhumans, which they are not. So I think stories like these and books like these are very, very important for people to read and understand. There is a process of being from who you are to where you are right now, and it is tough. It's not easy, and it should be treated that way. At times, we you
True.
know we tend to forget that.
True. Kushan, you prepare for this question because you have covered BCCI very closely. But when we now see a domestic season announced, men and women, they get a lot of flack, whether it is a Saurav Ganguly or a Jay Shah. They are easy people to fire. You're not doing their job. Pandemic has happened. BCCI has done this. There is also a system which is really firing for Indian cricket. And the management professionals, whether it is Saurabh, whether it is Jay, whether it is Arun, whether it is the back room, they also deserve credit. And it is important that they are recognized as well. So, your thoughts on that? But you think about it before I ask Veda this. One of our viewers, Madhurjo Chakraborty, Veda, is it time to increase the number of tests for women? Because The question is that the way we played in England in that test match was fantastic. So thoughts on that, and I'll connect it with the next one from Roktim Bonik, who says, how much will the Women's Challenger Trophy help Indian women in the overseas series? So both questions to you, Veda, before Kushan takes that.
Oh well, I mean, there's this new format which is added back to women's cricket. It is just not one-off cricket test match we played in England. We have another coming up against Australia, and that's going to be a day-nighter with pink ball. I think if there is enough preparation, if we have domestic, because we don't play red ball cricket at all. So if there is something where we can prepare even one match every series, if we are playing test match against the top teams, I think it will bring out a different character. It will show how resilient we can be. That is what happened in England as well. We were pushed against the wall. It was like we almost lost the test match, and to come back and draw that game in such a manner shows the character of the team, and not to give up regardless of what it is. And I'll tell you, it's been, I think, 6-7 years since we've played red ball cricket in domestic. So all of those players, whoever has played, they've never played red ball cricket, and to play that kind of cricket shows a lot of character. And I hope that we are going into the right way of having a test match against top teams and every series we play. And the women challengers, if he's mentioning it to the IPL games what we play, I think that is a huge advantage as well, because when you have the overseas top players in your squad, you get to interact with them, you get to know how things are, because there's a lot of difference. There's a huge cultural gap. That is what I understood when I played Big Bash, and when I was there, it took me literally a month to actually get used to the system, how it is, because we are brought up in a very different manner here, and the cricket played outside is different. Maybe 1 or 2 points here and there, you pick it up, and you add to your armory, and you become a different cricketer altogether. And that is something I have learned playing with overseas players. Regardless of Big Bash or the women's IPL games where we play, we get to interact. You get to learn a lot. The small things makes a big difference, and hopefully there is more games in future, and we get to actually have all the cricketers, because it just it's been always like either Big Bash is clashing or something else is clashing. So sometimes Australians are not there, sometimes the English are not there. If we can have like a full-fledged thing, and those people come in and we actually get to pick their brain, it will be a huge advantage for the younger generation as well, who will actually get to play with these cricketers, which for them will be like a dream come true, and it will aspire and inspire a lot of people to take up the sport, and the number will increase, the game will increase, and it will be a huge gain for the sport itself.
Excellent. Kushan, before I close with Deep, 2 questions for Deep. I'll close with Deep. BCCI. I mean, they are easily the ones in the firing line. One mistake and your head is on the block. But today, where our cricket is, be it the domestic structure, be it players internationally, sending replacements. I mean, come on, credit where due. Whether it is Saurabh, whether it is Jay, whether it is Arun, whether it is the professionals, whoever it is, the association and the organization does deserve a lot of credit. Kushan?
Certainly, like you forgot one name, that is Rahul Dravid, who has worked tirelessly.
Correct.
And from 2000, Deep himself is a certified coach, and so Deep can also shed some light on this. The NCA coaching manual has gone through a sea change. Right now, the emphasis is more on effectivity rather than on seeing that whether everyone is doing everything correctly or not. It's not about if your bat is coming from gully, it's fine as long as certain minor tweaks are there, are not they're not changing the stance. The manual would tell you that they're not changing the stance, and they're doing some minor tweaks, whether within which probably if the ball is now going to the slips, it will not go to the slips. And I'm talking in a loose manner. Deep as a specialist can explain you better about, but this is what I'm told. There are guys whose names we do not even know, do not even talk, like Sujit Somasundar, who is the head of education, or Apurv Desai, who is the batting coach, or there is Rajiv Dotto, who used to be an under 16 coach of Bengal. They are tremendous professionals. They are tremendous teacher coaches, and with sound knowledge, and they are imparting that knowledge to the next generation of coaches. So the structure and the coaching manual that Rahul has prepared, that has also been key to the success that we're seeing so many players which are coming down the line, like the supply line, the robust supply line, that probably Deep can tell you better, because Deep himself is a certified coach.
Okay, Deep, you can address that and your thoughts on the playing 11 for the third test. Usual journalistic question has come from Nobonita Ghosh and the Rohit Rahul partnership. When he's asking, who is this from? This is from viewer SS98. When he's asking about the Rohit partnership, let me just add this and give it to Deep. Rohit was in Australia in hard quarantine, and Kushan and I were writing the book at that point. Every day we would call Rohit and count day number 7, day number 8, day number 9, day number 10. And all those messages are actually documented. And I asked him one day, I said, you won the IPL. You're on a high. You don't need to do this to yourself. Why go to Australia? You will go into the Sydney test match with no match practice. Clearly, you are against Stark, Hazelwood, Cummins, and Lyon. You are the underdog. Why are you making yourself go through this? You could have stayed back in India and played the England series. And he said to me, you know what? I want to play those 2 test matches for India. I don't care if I fail, but I have to play those 2 test matches for India. I want to play red ball cricket each time I get an opportunity. And this is my life. It's my legacy. I tarnish it, but I've got to play. And I'm like, yeah, credit where due. Respect goes up. So Deep, Rohit and Rahul, and playing 11 for the third test. Thoughts?
I just start off with what Kushan mentioned. I think I mentioned it before. Where India is because of the system. It's a testament to the system, which includes obviously the administrator. It's not just about the players. When we're talking about the system being so robust, India has never had a transition period. It's starting from the 1930s, from Palwankar Balu to Vinu Mankad to Karl Naidu. Every generation has had cricketing icons. So I think we tend to at times overlook this huge legacy that we have. And I think that is credit to the system that we have. And that system is not possible without the administrators. We've had some legendary administrators being part of the system. Again, going way back to 60s and 70s, the system is not perfect. No system is perfect. But I think this is as good as you can get. And obviously strive to be perfect. I mean, at this point in time, in these times, we are planning to have the whole domestic season, right? When we're talking about the third wave coming in, Saurav, Jay, and everyone putting together, Arun, they're actually putting up the whole domestic season together right now as we speak, right? The schedule is already out. So I think there's a lot of work that is happening behind the scenes. Someone, as Kushan mentioned, those unnoticed people, the professionals who are there, someone like a Gaurav Saxena or someone who are there working day in, day out to make things happen. So anyway, so system, obviously, when I talk about system, it's not just the players, but the whole team, so to say. Going back to cricket and players, I think KL Rahul and Rohit, first of all, Rohit, he never looks out of form. I have never seen Rohit out of form. Even when he scores 10 runs, he looks as good as $1 million. He never looks out of form. So the only thing which I reckon he's still trying to figure out, and which he almost did, to find out the transition from being something that he wants to be in red ball cricket to his natural game, initially starting off slowly and then transitioning into his usual self when he's playing more freely. I think that there is a little bit of a hurdle, and I'm sure it's just one innings which is around the corner. Once he gets that template going, he will catch up on it and will make those big hundreds, irrespective at home or away. So Rahul and Rahul, listen, he's as good as it gets, and I've always been a big fan ever since I saw him 2014 at Firozshah Kotla. He got 100 each innings against Central Zone in a Dulip Trophy. I mean, he's all 3 format player, and I'm glad that he's gone back to opening as well. There were always been things of him playing in the middle order. We'll have to wait and watch what happens in the future, but he's good enough to play all 3 formats. He's a class act. So yeah, Rohit, and we tend to forget, even though someone like Rohit, apart from that 80, he might not get those big runs, but those 30s and the starts that they are giving, Gale and Rohit together, 60 not out, 70 not out. Listen, we all know nowadays it's 250, 300, at the most 350. Gone are the days when you're looking at 450, 500 run innings. So for 250, 300, if that's where you're looking at, a good 70, 80 runs opening stand is good enough, and it's very good. I think so. They're doing their primary job of staying there. And obviously, like I said, someone like Rohit will once he gets that template and once he finds that tempo in Test match cricket, you'll see more hundreds and daddy hundreds that we've seen Rohit score.
Excellent. I'll close on this note saying I want to see Veda back, and at the earliest, because once the moment I see her back, it will, and it's not for Veda. It is actually about the future generation. What she can do or will do will inspire thousands of young girls, boys who have gone through a ridiculously tough time to believe that life can get better and you can do it for the tricolor. And that's what Mission Domination is all about. Deep, being a friend, comrade, colleague, you've always been a super supporter. I mean, anything I've turned back to you for support. So don't want to say that more, but thank you very, very much for it.
Thank you so much.
Is a genuine cricket fan. Aftab Shivdasani. He's not here now, but you have fun talking to Aftab, and I know he wants to play Saurav Ganguly in a biopic. I know that. I'm putting it on record without telling Aftab. So I'm putting that out. This book, Kushan, was such a delight to work with. As I said, he kept pushing me. First, he's a paranoid sort. He will say, Hobeto, will it happen? Can we do it? This, that. If there's one mistake. But he's such a delight to work with. His knowledge of cricket, Kushan's knowledge of domestic cricket, the years that he has toiled, is such a treasure trove that has enriched this book no end. My job was easy. Job was actually easy. And it was a delight to work with Simon & Schuster. All I will say is buy the book. We need some royalty. Buy the book, jokes apart. Buy the book, you'll love the stories. You will love the stories because these characters, Veda, Deep, they are the story. They are what Indian cricket is all about. And in that third test, fourth and fifth, Virat Kohli's team, they are the story. And all of them, whether it is Virat, Ravi, Bharat, Rohit, Cheteshwar, and all of them, each of them have been so liberal with their time. I think we've spoken to Bharat for 40 hours, if not more. So each one of them we've spoken to for hours while writing this book. So read it because you will feel good about your country. That's where I will finish this show. Thank you very, very much, everybody, for watching. Deep, Veda, Kushan, thank you for joining me. Shayantan, Aftab, thanks for joining. And as I said, Kushan, your book is already a bestseller, so don't worry about it. And don't tell
Boria,
message me every
Boria Kushan, all the best.
It will get sold, don't worry.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Deep. Thanks a lot. And thanks, Veda, for coming and joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And good luck,
Good
luck to you.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank
Good luck,
you.
sir. Thank you.
Thanks.